Hello and welcome to the channel. This is Bristling Miniatures, and today we have Maelle from the video game Expedition 33. This is a figure, the 3D print figure from Neko Figurines, Patreon. I will put a link in the description where you can find it if you're interested. I'd say 1/6 or 1/7 scale, I forget exactly which. Starting with the model already primed in black and then temporarily assembled. I'm now applying a zenithal highlight, white paint or white ink, either one will work fine, from top down or from the light source down. And at some points I pop an extra bit concentration of white where I really want to make sure that I'm going to be emphasizing either the brightness of the model or a punch of color or something. So I know in her shoulder there and on her shirt, that's pretty much the only color that she's gonna have on her outfit is that shirt. So I make sure I hit it with a little extra bit of white. And also, even in the shadowed areas, I'll bump a little bit of the white in there, so otherwise it's just gonna end up completely black. Moving on to a dark purple. This is for her shirt, and I'm going to go ahead and apply this to both her shirt and her arm here. It's when it dries, it's very, very dark, although it doesn't get quite as dark as I'd want, and we'll fix that here in a moment. So I'm using this dark neutral gray as the black color for the rest of her outfit. I don't use straight black because if I did, I wouldn't have any room for doing any darkening of the shadow areas, which I will do in a little bit. So I'm using satin black for her boots. This satin black paint is really nice from Pro Acrylic. It gives a little extra shine to them, and it differentiates the boots from the rest of her outfit. Now here I'm using a coal black, and this is where I'm going to punch in really deep shadowed areas, really in the deepest recesses of her outfit, underneath her little cloak there, and on the back of her legs. So there's areas that the light just absolutely is not hitting. And now I'm going with a transparent black. I'm going to go over the purple on her shirt. The purple is still too bright. I need a very much of a contrast with the shirt. So I'm going to tone down this purple first, make it a very dark purple in the recesses. And then we're going to come in with some of the standard purple that I used. And I'm going to go ahead and start doing a dry brush over it to bring out the color on more of the raised surfaces. And then finally a faded plum to highlight just the most prominent parts of the shirt, the tips of the folds, the edges of the pinstriping, and around where the shirt's kind of fastened in the front. So this is really important to get this to pop this shirt, because like I said, this is pretty much the only color outside of the black and the trim colors on her entire outfit. Now I'm using a light gray here, and I'm doing the same kind of technique I did on the shirt, just doing a dry brush across the folds. And this really is to break up all that huge, just amount of black that we see on her entire lower part of her body here, her legs and waist. And technique here is just to have very little paint on your brush and just very lightly go across the folds to catch them. Now I'll use some silly putty to mask off the shirt, and I'm hitting the rest of it with that dark gray. Now here's the tricky part of this model. On her shoulder part, there's a lot of intricate details, but all those details are recessed into the sculpture. They're not raised up. And those recessed areas need to be gold. So after trying a bunch of different techniques, I landed on finding this gold metallic crayon. And I'm just, it's just smearing it into, just putting it into all those recesses, those cracks and that. And then I take a microfiber towel first, and then Q-tips, and then I also use some toothpicks at the very end. And I just work in sections here, and I'm just rubbing this into all those cracks and crevices and grooves, and then going over it, like I said, with the towel and the Q-tips. And I found this worked actually very well. It came out amazingly well. The Q-tips and the microfiber didn't take the black off the paint, didn't take the black off the shoulder at all, and it took a long time just to kind of work back and forth with the crayon, but eventually I got it, and I was really happy with the way it turned out. Now I ended up using this Viking Gold paint here from Scale 75. It was the gold that I had that actually matched that Crayola crayon gold color the best, and I just decided to use this. Putting that on both her tie on her shoulder, or on her armband, and on her sword. And then using that same gold then for the trim work, starting with her boots. Yeah, I know it's crazy to use a crayon, but it worked in this it worked in this model, so I just I ran with it. I'm using this metal color silver from Vallejo. These are some of my favorite metal color paints. Are really these metal color by Vallejo. It goes on super smooth, very consistent paint. One thing I do with all my metallics is I make sure I don't use a wet palette with any kind of metallic paint. Instead, I'll put it on, like, I have a little piece of tile, but any kind of like a hard surface will work. And that way allows me to control the amount I reduce it, thin it with water. You get too much water on metallic paint and it separates, and it doesn't have that look that you're trying to get with a metallic paint. So here I'm just taking my time going around all the edges, and then just if you make a mistake, it's easy to just go back and touch it up with that dark gray that I used. But these areas are actually pretty easy to get at. They're raised up really well, and pretty simple. Here I'm just hitting the chains and a little bit of the buckle or the buttons on that waistcoat. And then finally, for the silver here on her leg part, she has one leg has a silver band or wrap around it. And then here we move into this bright neutral gray. So in her shirt, she has like an undershirt that's kind of like a white or an off-white. So that's what I'm doing here, just to make that pop out. And actually it really helped with the contrast of the purple too. It really made the whole part pop really nicely. Now this is the flag that's draped over the crate on the base. And on the flag there's the emblem for 33, but here the model was created where the gold part was raised up, and makes painting that so much easier than like on the shoulder where it was in a recess. Again, I'm just taking my time here. You can see I'm using the tile with the metallic paint, and I can control how much water I have there, and I use very, very, very little water to thin this paint. And then I take the gold and hit the other leg for her other leg band. And I also applied that same gold to the hilt of her sword. I'm using this decayed metal to give some weathering to the sword blade. The way it printed, there was a few little marks on the blade from the support material, and I just decided to kind of incorporate those marks into the wear and tear of her blade and added this in for weathering effects. Moving on to her hair, I'm using a sanguine base. I use a very similar color choice and style as I did, I think, on the Aloy model I did in a previous video. And the general idea is just get your darkest shadow color of your hair in place first, and then come over after that, put in a burnt red color for the kind of establishing the main color of her hair. yeah, the burnt red, and like I said, it establishes the main color. You don't put this into wherever the darkest recesses are, like on the underside where the light doesn't directly hit the hair. I would leave with the sanguine. Otherwise, I'll put this burnt red in, and just go ahead. And with these reds especially, when they go on, they look bright, they look too light, they look too shiny, all that. And when it dries, it fades, gets darker, and the brightness goes away, of course. So just keep that in mind when you're painting, especially reds. They will dry significantly different than what they look like when they're going on. So I'm always keeping in mind where my light source is, especially with the hair when it starts twisting and flying away like some of the hair does in her ponytail. Always keeping in mind which way is the light coming from, so I make sure I don't inadvertently paint into the shadowed areas. And now I'll move into like an orangish red color, and what I'm doing here is I'm just establishing where I want my highlights to be. At this point, I'm not worried about the transition between the highlight color and into that burnt red we just put on. I just want to, basically, it's just like a sketch. I'm sketching in where the highlight should be. I'm doing the same thing on her ponytail. Once the highlights are fully in place, then I'll go back and I'll start mixing colors that were the highlight color, like 50-50, say with the burnt red, the color I'm trying to blend it into. And I'll use that 50-50 mix that's very thin, and I'll work in layers to begin doing that blending process to make that highlight look more of a natural transition than that harsh highlight than when I first kind of sketched it in. The other thing to keep in mind is when you're doing this is always take your brush strokes and go with the hair. Don't ever go against the direction of the hair unless there's some really weird reason to do so. Going with the hair just helps with the brush stroke, hiding the brush strokes that you might have, and it just helps the hair look like it has maybe more thin strands within the thicker strands. You can see here I'm just using those thin mixture of the lighter highlight color with the burnt red and just going over it. I probably did this in 4, 5, 6 different coats, kept transitioning. Sometimes I'd push it a little bit too far one way, and you just bring it back the other way as far as the amount of that 50-50 mix you have to make the transition work. Onto our skin, like always, almost always, start with a sunset red to establish the undertone of the skin. And I apply this nice even coat across the entire skin, whether it's a highlight area or shadowed area. Transparent red, I will apply this thin down version of this into the shadowed areas or into like the folds of the skin or creases of the skin. This just helps, again, give more of the richness to the skin color, variation, tonal variation as well. Using this transparent color, Maelle in the video game, she's got a lot of freckles and her, whatnot on her skin. On her face especially. So I'm using the back side of my blade here and a very old brush, and then just going nuts here and kind of flicking that transparent a brown, I believe it was. Now I'm using this Shadow Flush from Pro Acryl as the shadowed color for her skin, so the underside where the opposite the light source direction. Again, very, very thin coats and not a full coverage. I'm moving over to a basic skin tone Vallejo paint, and now the opposite direction. Now I am coming from the direction of the light source onto the skin. Again, thin coats, not worried about getting 100 100% even coverage across the entire skin because I do want that tonal variation to show. I decided to try a warm flesh. This has got more yellow in it, and I feel that sometimes my skin tones could use a little bit of yellow. This particular model, there wasn't a lot of skin to start with, pretty much just her hand and her face. And I might have went a little bit overboard with the warm flesh. At the end result here, she looked, the skin came out a little more yellow than I probably would have done otherwise. But, you know, that's part of the painting process. You got to experiment and try new things, and this was me just trying a more of a yellow color on a skin tone. And dark umber here for moving on to our portrait, starting with her around her eyes, trimming in the eyelashes. She's a younger character, so I don't want to go with like a full black. I thought more of a like a softer brown might be more appropriate for this character. And then to her eyelashes as well. Just a lot of really small, light brush strokes, rather than just trying like to draw one line that would be an eyelash. Using deck tan for her eyeballs. I'm going to use this blue-black to establish her irises. Her eyes are, and then Fenrisian gray for the actual color of her eyes. So her eyes are an interesting blue in the game. So this is my approach to it, is just using like like I said, this blue-black to create the actual shape of her entire iris, and then coming in with that Fenrisian gray in a smaller area than the blue-black to give it the color within the center of the iris. Then some lip color for her lips. And moving on to this base, I'm using contrast paint here. I got two different kind of woods to work with. I got the planks of the base itself, and then I got the crate. So I'm using two different colors of a brown contrast paint. And again, I just used what was left over on the base from the original zenithal highlight that I did with the model. And here I'm using the speed paint by Army Painter, and you can see it's much more of a different tone of wood, which really helps with keeping the wood contrast between the two quite different when they're sitting together. Here I got a little time skip here. I'm actually doing the black on the flag that's draped over the crate that we'd already put gold on earlier, so time travel is awesome. I'm using Bane brown, this little light colored brown, and a big old makeup brush here for dry brushing this. And what this does is it really pops that wood grain out on the planks. And part of the video game, there's this thing called the gamage, and I'm not getting any spoilers at all. It's an awesome game, but part of the gamage has these kind of red and white colored petals that are in the sky and they fall to the ground. And that's what I'm doing here on the base. This is the gamage. And I use a combination of contrast paints and pastel paints with dry brushing technique to knock out the flower pot. And here's the finished model. I'm really impressed by this model from Neko Figurines. It went together really well. I don't think I had to do any gap filling anywhere, base or the model. And overall, it was just an enjoyable project to do with a character that is thoroughly enjoyable in the video game that she came from. So with that, I'm going to say that this model is ready to be put on display. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching the video today. I certainly do appreciate it. And if you liked what you saw something that might be helpful in your own painting journey, if you would be so kind to consider a like or comment, or even if you want to subscribe to the channel for additional future videos of this type, please do so. And with that, If you liked what you saw in this video, you'll probably also like the next video coming up as well. Thank you. Take care.